Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur. I hope you're all well, and today's subject that we're going to talk about is starting again or starting afresh in your, let's just say plus 30s. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about that particular subject is, one, it's close to my heart because I had to start again a couple of times in my working career. And one of them fairly unexpectedly. And the reason I want to talk about this subject now is because I think it's going to be very helpful to those that are listening that are going to go through something similar. Under the current situation with the pandemic, we are now in a recession. Now, a lot of us are being shielded by that recession and the effects of it simply because of the furloughing scheme. So although there's been about an extra, or just under 1 million people that have gone on to some sort of benefits over the last sort of 2 months, that's going to go up fairly considerably. There's no ifs or buts about it. People are going to lose their jobs. People are going to be made redundant. Now, if that's inevitable, there's an inevitability about the fact that one age group that I want to particularly focus on is the over 30s, because it's actually quite a significant birthday, your 30th, isn't it? It was for me, and it is for many, many people. You hear it all the time that, I'm celebrating my 30th, and they're a lot of them are depressed about it. I think it was a milestone for me, more so than my 40th or my 50th. I'm 51 now. But I do remember my 30th, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm a grown up now. My 20s are now behind me. I really need to knuckle down, and I need, why haven't I got a plan in my head? Why am I not married? Why haven't I got kids? Why haven't I got my house? Well, actually, I did have my house at the time. But you know what I mean? There's certain corner points in your life or milestones in your life that you feel that you should have achieved things by. And 30 was one of them. So, it was starting to feel, a bit of anxiety about that maybe I wasn't achieving as much as I'd hoped at the age of 30. But the reality is that I was doing what probably 95% of everyone else does in their 20s, and that is go out and have a good time. And my background is a working class background. I never knew anything about entrepreneurship. I never knew anything about business in terms of, being exposed to other business people. The people that I hung around with were the people who I was brought up on my council estate with and went to school with, and their aspirations. And their aspirations were similar to mine and what our parents had drummed into us and what their parents had drummed into them. And that was learn a trade or get a decent job and stay in it, work hard, earn a good salary, buy a house. Well, if you were lucky to buy a house, have kids. And that was it. That was our upbringing. And that's still the case now. 90% of the population out there, that's your reality. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or, I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it. I think people should be able to aspire for more than that. But if that's what your upbringing has been and that's what then that's what you're going to grow towards. And you hang around with the people who have those same aspirations. And that was the case for me. And most of my friends. And I had a decent job. I was a relatively senior manager within a logistics company. I'd done well. I was working hard. I'd got promotions. I had a relatively good salary. I had my own house, decent car. I was doing okay. But that all came to a crashing halt on I think close to my 31st birthday. And I'd always kind of had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something for myself. And I had some glimpses of entrepreneurship in terms of some of the stuff that I'd been doing before. But I didn't know it was called entrepreneurship. Didn't even recognize it as anything like that. I just thought I was being ambitious, But it came to a crashing halt because my job was made redundant. And the opportunity that was presented towards me was either accept a redundancy or move back into an accounting role, which I had previously done, which I didn't want to do. I knew 100% I didn't want to do that. I wasn't sure what I did want to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do. So that's where my real entrepreneur business story started, because I was then forced into a situation where I had to make a career change. So I went from an accounting financial background into logistics. And then from there, I went into the food business, the food and beverage business. And that was the start of my, what is now 20-year career in F&B. So I was 31, made redundant. And the reason why I'm telling this story is that there's going to be a lot of people that are made redundant in their 30s and 40s and older. And I had anxiety because I felt, even at the age of 30, that, oh shit, I'm having to start all over again. And I'm starting in a completely new career as well. And that was frightening. I wasn't doing anything that I'd known before. This was completely new, but it was probably the best thing that I ever did. Tough, hard, 20 years later, still tough and hard. But the point that I'm coming to is that during the course of your working career, it's highly unlikely in this day and age that you're probably going to stay in one career for your entire life. Those days are long gone. I think, there's a few careers, jobs for life maybe, but not many. And you shouldn't be scared to start again and start with something new. Now, you may be forced into that situation, forced into making that choice earlier than maybe you anticipated. But this is not the end of the world for you. This is actually a new chapter. This is an exciting opportunity for you. It may seem daunting. And for those of us that are in our 40s and 50s, beyond 30, if you're in your 30s, then you've got so much time ahead of you. So much time ahead. You're still a baby in terms of business. You're still just starting out. I'm hearing, people who are getting very anxious, and I see it all the time. I was one of those people getting into my 40s as well, and thinking I'm running out of time. I'm still not achieving or going fast enough or getting anywhere quick enough in order to achieve what I wanted to do. But times have changed. I keep coming back to my parents and my grandparents. I'm 51 now. I look at me. This is going to sound like I'm being maybe big-headed, but I look at myself in the mirror and I'm pretty decent shape. I'm probably fitter than I have been in many years. I still eat much of what I want to eat, but I do a lot more exercise and I'm a lot more conscious about how I look after myself. But I remember seeing my dad when he was about 51, 52, and he looked old. And I see other people who are not maybe looking after themselves and are in their 50s. Again, they're aging before their time, really. But a lot of people who are in their 50s now are like me. They don't look 50 compared to our fathers and our fathers' fathers, etc. People are living longer. That's true. People of my age who are looked after themselves and are in relatively decent health are expected to live beyond the age of 100. And I don't mean, just hanging on for dear life to the age of 100. There's a few of those people around now, you see them on TV and they go, oh yeah, I've lived to, it's my 100th birthday. I'm looking forward to the telegram from the Queen or, the card from the Queen. They look 100. They're in a care home. They're hanging on for dear life. They're not mobile. The 100 years old that I'm talking about is you're still mobile. You've still got all your faculties. You're still probably the equivalent to the 100-year-old in 50 years from now is probably someone that looks probably 70 now. So things have changed. Science has changed. People are living longer. People understand the things that they need to do to stay healthy. Doesn't mean that everyone's following it. As most people probably still aren't. But the point I'm making is that if you're going to live longer, and not only live longer, but be more mobile and be more active and more healthy, being 50 is nothing. I'm 51 now. I've only just recently turned 51. I think the best years are ahead of me. I've still got two young kids, 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. And it's quite funny, when I first started my business, I thought I was going to build the business in order to sell it, for the simple reason that I thought, well, my kids are just going to be, or I'm going to be too old to hand over to my kids. But as time has gone on over the last few years, I've realised that what a load of rubbish that is. I will only be, in 10 years' time, when my daughter is just over 20, I'm only going to be just over 60. And I'll be a young 60. And that's nothing. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people out there that just want to work to the point where they get to retirement, and the age of retirement for them is, if they can get to 55 or 60 and then they can retire and put their feet up. Put your feet up to do what? These are the people that I'm talking about that are, that will be dead by the time they're 70, because they've got it into their minds that 70 is old. 70 is not old. Yeah, a lot of this I know does come down to mindset. I've seen people who are my age and actually look about 10 years older than that because they've convinced themselves that they are old. My dad's generation, my dad could not wait to get to 55 and took early retirement. Unfortunately, my mum didn't make it. She died when I was 18 and she was, I think, probably 52, 53. But that's all that they worked to. They had it in their head, right, okay, if we can just get to that age and then we'll retire and then we'll sell the house and we'll move down to Cornwall and we'll buy a little bungalow down there. That was their dream. That's all they wanted to do. And that was it. There was no, I don't know what they wanted to do after that. And it's funny when you had a conversation with people when you say, well, okay, you want to retire, but then what do you want to do? Oh, I want to play more golf. I want to, maybe do a bit of traveling. Oh, okay. So couple of years of doing that, then what do you want to do? No idea. And that's why you see so many older people now come back and work in Tesco's and work in B&Q and things like that. They're bored shitless. Don't know what to do with themselves. And those are the lucky ones because they're still staying active. But the damage is done by then. You've aged yourself because you've convinced your whole body and your mind that that age is old. Now, for me, and for most of you of my age, if you find yourself in a situation where you've lost your job, you've been made redundant, I know there's the temptation to go into desperation and have a lot of anxiety about that. And that's kind of natural because it's a real kick in the balls being made redundant. It does hit your confidence. There's no two ways about it. Anyone that says otherwise, I can tell you positive mindset and all the rest of it. But the reality is it does hit your confidence. But once you get past that, you then have to look at the opportunities that this now presents. This is now your opportunity to create another career for you, and maybe a bigger and better one that is more in tune with the lifestyle that you want to live. And not only that, give you the opportunity for financial independence, because your reliance on a third party, you can take into your own hands by working for yourself. And I really want you to consider the opportunities that, say, franchising in particular will give you. It's an easy route into a career. It can be what you want it to be. So if all you want to do is earn a wage from it, buying a franchise can do that for you. But it also gives you the opportunity to go beyond that and create a bigger business, a bigger career for yourself, and right into when you do want to retire. Or if you indeed are like me and maybe not really interested in retirement, or retirement looks different for you, i.e. I work when I want to and not because I have to, which is a good place to be, then having a business that can continue to operate without your daily input is a good thing. You can continue to earn a revenue from that. Being 50 or 40 or whatever it is not a hurdle. It really isn't. If you're going to live to you're 100, and I know there's going to be people out there go, well, I don't want to be fucking working until I'm 100 years old. I get that. But you can create and shape a career that you have control over. And if you change your mindset to look at work as something that is just supplementing your life and is not controlling your life, then you can look at it differently. Too many people have negative things about work, and simply because they're doing shit they don't like and they're working for someone else's benefit. Working for yourself is different. You're reaping the rewards from it. I'm not saying it doesn't feel like work. It is work, but at least you're working for yourself. And if you can shape that business to suit your lifestyle, which franchising gives you that opportunity. I'm not saying it will do it, because that comes down to you and how you run that. But it gives you a better opportunity to do that and have that kind of lifestyle and that kind of control over your life that working for an employer does not give you. And one of the things that, that kind of struck home with me was that I wanted to take control of my life. I didn't want a third party, an employer, determining when I worked and when I didn't work. And despite having worked your nuts off for this employer, when things turned tough, you were cast aside. And that's a tough one. But, I just want to get this message through to people that being 50 or even above 50, your career is not over. There are opportunities out there. And particularly if you've got some equity in your house at this stage, you can release that, and don't release it to, just fritter away. Put it into a business that's going to give you the opportunity to build your lifestyle around. And there's so many opportunities out there now as well. You know, even if you didn't want to do franchising, you know, there's e-commerce, you know, there's property investments and things like that. There's so many opportunities that we've got at the age of 50, and, you know, my kids are going to have huge amounts of opportunity. But we've got those opportunities as well because the technology is still there. We may not be the greatest at using it, and I'm certainly not, but I recognize opportunities. You know, e-commerce, massive opportunity for you to actually even just stay at home and or work from your mobile phone and create an income stream from that. So being made redundant is not the end of the world for you. It could just be the beginning of a very exciting time. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast today and talk about this subject is that so many people are going to lose their jobs over the next 18 months. And a lot of them are going to be in the age groups that, you know, I was in and, you know, and are at now. And it is not the end of the world. There is more opportunity for you now to still take your future in your hand. You know, compared to when my father was alive and at this age. If my dad had been made redundant at the age of 50 back in the day, he had no internet. There was no mobile phones. There was no e-commerce or that side of the business. His opportunities were 100% restricted. The opportunities for us are endless simply because we've got access to an iPhone, and that gives us access to so many opportunities. So I don't want you to feel it's the end of the world that if you are in a situation where you've been made redundant, you've lost your job, you know, you're going to take a little bit of time to readjust, but there's 100% opportunities out there, even in this recession. You know, if worst case scenario is that you just get on eBay and start buying cheap and reselling it for a bit more money. I know people who are earning £500 a week just from buying secondhand shit on eBay and then reselling it on. In fact, you know, I know one person that, you know, when the shops were open, they were buying stuff from, what's the name of that retailer? You know what? It's gone from my head. I can't remember what it is, but it was one of those big, cheaper clothes stores, and they were just picking up designer gear from it cheap and then selling it for an extra 5, 6, 7 quid. They're only £500 a week, clearing £500 a week. And it's easy money for them. You know, there are other people who are just doing car boot sales, picking up secondhand stuff and reselling that. There is opportunity there that just was not there 10, 15 years ago. You know, so take a bit of time. You're going to need to readjust. You're going to have some bad days. But you need to understand and you need to know that you're only less than halfway through your life at the age of 50. And if you wanted to, you could keep on working until you're 80 and above and be active doing it and enjoying it, particularly if you're working for yourself. You know, in fact, it is if you're working for yourself, because probably employers are not going to have an 80-year-old doddering around. But the opportunity is there for you to do it. You know, there's no boundaries here. There's no restrictions on your age. You know, the restrictions are in your mind. If you've got a mindset that, oh shit, you know, 70 is really old or 50 is old, then guess what? It's going to be old and you're going to act old. But I'm here to tell you that all the things that I've read, the things that I've listened to, change your mindset. Technology has changed a lot. People are living a lot longer. Losing your job at the age of 40 or 50 could just be another kickstart to a new career of another 20, 30 years of you working for yourself, taking control of your finances and your lifestyle, and giving you a big opportunity. So turn that mindset around. Think of the opportunities and not the negatives. If there's anyone out there that does experience this over the next sort of 18 months, you know, redundancy or, you know, loses their job because of the recession, then please reach out to any one of my social media channels and I'll happily talk to you about what I went through and how I got through it, because it is, you know, it does hurt you when you're made redundant. There's no two ways about it, but I'm convinced that you should see it as an opportunity, particularly now. You know, when I was made redundant 20 years ago, I never had some of these things that are now accessible. So I believe it would have been even easier for me to have turned that around. So if this does hit you, then please reach out. I'm happy to talk to you and give you any advice that I can and tell you about any opportunities I think could be relevant to you. I'm not looking to sell you a franchise, by the way. I'm just looking to help you if you find yourself in this situation, because I've been through it and I think I can help you in terms of resetting your mind to realize the opportunities that are out there. So I hope this podcast was helpful. I'm hoping that you won't find yourself in this situation, but if you are and you're older, this is not the end of the world. This is just a beginning of a new brave world for you. Please reach out and I'll do everything I can to help you. So take care, and next podcast is this Friday. Any comments, please leave in the comments on the podcast, or like I said, I'm on most social media platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So take care. Until next time. Thanks.